Welcome to an exciting journey into the world of auctions. We will navigate the legal intricacies, explore digital innovations, delve into the economic impact, uncover hidden treasures, and ensure your confidence with consumer protection. So whether you're a seasoned pro or a curious newcomer, this is your backstage pass to the voice of auction.
Good day, John, MC. Just wanted to find out from you guys, how do online auctions work, and what are the key differences between online and the traditional live auctions?
Well, MC runs an online property auctioneer, so maybe you start there.
Well, yes, okay. Straightforward answer, actually, not much different. It is an online auction, similar to any auction, I would say, for a buyer's perspective, is to go and do your homework. Do your homework in terms of what you're buying, what you can afford to buy, how you are purchasing it is just a method of sale. And that we guide everyone through it, whether it's a buyer or a seller, we'll guide you through the entire process. So my main scenario in terms of whether you're buying online, whether you're buying live auction, whether you're buying out of hand sale, is do your research as a buyer. I don't think there's a different way of doing it. I think in a sense online auctions has become more relaxed, if I can call it that way. I am a live auctioneer myself, and as much as I want to not say it, it is intimidating for the man on the street to stand in an auction in front of an auctioneer and raise their hand. Whereas on an online auction, you can sit in the kitchen or be on the golf course and place your bid. And you've got a bit more time. So I think it is a bit more comforting for a buyer's side of things, but you still need to know what's your limit, what am I buying. Yeah, that's pretty much from my end.
Look, I do a lot of movable auctions. Again, it's a sales methodology. It's actually there for the convenience of the buyer. It's actually more convenient for the auctioneer too. We can run and conduct these auctions from our offices, and the buyers can buy from whatever location that you talk about. I think what's important is understanding the terms and conditions of the sale. When you buy on auction, you generally buy on the old Voetstoots rule, which is as is, where is, buyer beware. So if you're buying a movable asset, either have a lot of confidence in the auctioneer or attend a viewing. There will be a public viewing opportunity. Go and look at the assets. Apart from that, the bidding process is pretty straightforward, understandable, and transparent. So it's very good, and it certainly is an improvement by and large on the auction process. The live auction, there are still asset classes are best suited for live auctions. But online auctions are, certainly technology is playing a bigger and bigger role in the auction process by and large. Yeah.
I just want to add to that, and you alluded to it, is that a buyer must also understand that it's not just a machine. You can pick up the phone to anyone. I mean, you've got an office, they can pick up the phone. You don't need to be unsure about anything. You can just pick up the phone and talk to someone there. It's not just the machine.
And in that essence, what are the most popular online platforms, and how do they compare in terms of the feature, and how user friendly is it?
You're going to say yours, and I'm going to say mine.
No. I think. So there are auctioneering companies that have proprietary platforms. Proprietary meaning they've built it to suit their business needs, and that's important to understand the difference. So a proprietary platform has been designed to suit the particular asset class and the type of buyers that they're hoping to attract. Then you get third-party platforms where you can buy or license the use of a platform, and they call them, and then they can white label that. White label being that they can, on the front end of it, they can put your name there, and there's a certain amount of flexibility in terms of changing it to suit your business platform. Both serve the same purpose. It's really a question of the customer services that the auctioneer enjoys with the platform owner. Because if you're using a platform from Europe or from the USA, and something happens, you may be on the wrong side of working hours. So, but apart from that, as far as the buyer's concerned, it's a piece of sophisticated software, no matter which side you're using. It's there to make they're all designed to help the bidder bidding on these things. So the functionality has moved, it's advancing quite quickly. And with the use of video and photography, you're actually getting far more information than you ever got before. Yeah.
Yeah, not much to add. I mean, we own our technology, and there's a lot of time and effort that goes into a platform. And on a property side of things, and it helps with monitoring. So it helps with monitoring and protecting your buyer. So what a buyer must understand is that the platform does protect you. As John says, it's transparent, it's open, you can see connectivity, you can see whether the guy is online or offline. If he has actually placed his bid, we're in a live auction in some cases, even myself, if you were a funny bidder, you might have been missed by the auctioneer. This way you can't, so it's transparent, it's open, you can see the bids depending on the platform, but yes, fully agree.
So in these platforms, what items are commonly sold, like on online auctions, and the range of available items that have come up over time?
Everything and anything.
Yeah, I think what's starting to happen is that there are the amount of specialization in the auction industry is certainly going through a change, because for argument's sake, an antique shop owner who used to sell antiques through a traditional method of sale can go into the auction business and sell his antiques online using third-party software. And he can become an auctioneer. And we've certainly seen the mushrooming of the auctioneering industry, where people are using it as a way of selling assets. But I've seen you can buy anything from coins, antiques, construction, mining equipment,
Livestock. The
livestock
industry has picked up quite a bit in terms of online.
Yeah, the livestock. I never thought we would see that day, personally. But I'm amazed every year when I see how they've adapted an online auction process for a rural auction environment. And you're seeing game. I think these game auctions that we hear about, they're now being done online. Property, a lot of property. I heard today. The sale of a lease by auction. So anything that has a competitive bidding requirement, where 2 or 3 people would bid in real time to buy something, to acquire it there and then, you can sell anything through an online auction process. Yeah.
And you're substantially increasing your buyer market.
Yeah, well, you see, the biggest thing that online auctions did, we did some research when we went into online auctions. And in live auctions, if you were to look at the distance that people travel to auctions, 90% of the bidders would come within 100 kilometers of a live auction, okay? And you'll probably find of those 90%, 80% of those came within 30 kilometers of an auction, okay, when you were selling cars or something like that. When you go online, you're now getting, if you're selling vehicles in Cape Town, you're getting bidders from Durban and from Johannesburg. So that 100 kilometer radius moves out to 500 kilometers. And that's really made a huge difference. So if you're a specialist collector of coins or particular antiques, or you want to buy commercial property in a particular area, you can bid on it from anywhere, you know, and that has really been the most significant change that online auctions have brought to the selling environment. Yeah.
I'll tell you an interesting story. We had a property in Hermanus, and we had a guy that was on holiday in the middle of the Mediterranean on a cruise ship bidding on this house in Hermanus.
Yeah.
And now with airplanes having Wi-Fi, we had a guy that was flying and bidding on a property in the air.
Okay. So what do you guys think, what's the best practice in terms of this online purchasing and as a buyer?
Sorry, the best practice. Well, I think the reality of it is, I think MC touched on that, is you've got to be prepared. You know, don't turn up at an auction without doing any sort of preparation. Okay, you need to know what you're buying, and you need to understand what contract you're entering into. And I think that's, if I was to sum up the inquiries or the complaints that we get through the web, through our association, is they revolve around buyers wishing they hadn't actually bid on something, and they're trying to get out of the deal. The reason they're trying to get out of is they weren't well prepared prior to the auction. So the selling process is transparent, okay, i.e. the methodology. You sign up to conditions of sale, you can read them, it can take you 2 minutes, half an hour, but you need to click something to say you've read and understood the terms and conditions. The bidding process is self-explanatory. You have to type in a number. If you type the number wrong, you're the guy that's made the error. The process is not. So it's about being prepared. I think, as MC said, every company has customer service lines. You can phone them and say, I'm a bit unsure about this or a bit unsure about that, and you'll have your questions answered. So
I also think what's very important is to do your research on the company you're buying from, especially now with online. You know, you are not seeing the person. You can pick up the phone, yes, but do the research on the company that you're buying from. I always welcome that. We've had a few buyers who's phoned Sire and ask who is BidX1, or what do they do, are they a reputable company? And I think that is where Sire comes in very handy for a buyer. And I think they need to do that and check who are you buying from, so that you know it's legit, so that you know that this is, and it comes into the point of do your research. That's part of it.
yeah.
So on that note, you spoke about the buyer. Now, as a seller, what are the steps do you guys think a seller should take in terms of putting their assets online?
Well, from our side, as doing property, there's various, I mean, we are part of the Estate Agency Affairs Board, we're part of SIRE, we get regulated by a number of regulations and acts. So there's certain things that a seller has to do. They need to formally instruct us, so we guide them through the entire process. But it's a similar scenario. Let's just see who am I dealing with? It's the same as on my end, and you can elaborate now on the movable side, but on my end, it's the same as picking an estate agent. You know, this is just the method of sale, and which one will give me as a seller the best possible result, and who is explaining this process the best to me. You know, some people still think that if the property is knocked down at a price, it's sold. It's not necessarily the case. So you need to ask the question as a seller. Ask the questions that you're unsure of. We're very happy to answer these questions. We want to answer these questions. I mean, when we talk to sellers, we try and explain all the questions we've had over the years in a sentence, but you might have something that you're not sure of. Ask us. We're happy to engage.
Yeah, I think there has been, if I was to talk about the most negative thing that's happened as a result of online auctions, is that I mentioned that you can buy or license online software. So your route to market today to become an online auctioneer, it could be relatively cheap in that regard. The problem with it is when sellers see an auctioneer and the software looks great and the pictures look great, you know, you can be drawn in as a purchaser to participate in an auction. At the end of the day, any business in the modern world has people behind it. And I think it's very important to make sure that you're comfortable with the company that you are registering to bid. Because generally speaking, when you register to bid in an auction, you have to pay a deposit. If you have any sort of suspicion, I would suggest the first thing you do is phone SIRE. So we certainly have 98% of the commercial auctioneers within our organization. It's a voluntary organization, but thankfully most people see the value in it. And we're there to put your mind at rest in terms of our membership. So yeah, do your homework. I think that's very important. And that wonderful saying, if it looks too good to be true, it's most probably not true. You know, we're seeing a huge uptick in Facebook Marketplace becoming a de facto auction platform, and there are some very dodgy individuals that are purporting to be well-known auctioneers, listing vehicles and saying with ridiculously low prices. People are seeing these and saying this is too good to be true. When you phone up the mobile number and you're given a Capitec bank account and say, just put 10,000 Rand in and we'll hold you the car and you can come and look at it. People drive to the address, and the address is a dilapidated house in a dreadful area. So that's the sort of thing that we're suffering as an organization and as an industry. And I think without homework, you know, you could get your fingers burnt. Yeah.
Okay, that's good, because now you've already touched on the security part of it. I just also want to elaborate a bit more on the payment process in terms of your deposits, online transactions, and so on and so forth.
Well, so we've got all methods of payments, but in a sense, on property transactions, you have to take the money into a trust account. So it's not my money, it's your money. It always needs to be protected via a trust account. So you need to make sure that the auctioneer is firstly registered with the estate agent, the Property Practitioners Act, regulating authority. Sorry, I'm still with the old act.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure that they are registered there, so that there is a trust account that is opened under the act, under the new act, which secures your money as a bidder up until obviously transfer of the property goes through. So there's various ways. There's a few different things. Is where's my money going to, and in terms of how payment happens, is that I think you buy groceries online, you do your banking online, you do all of these things online, and I know that our security systems has been put in place to secure that, and there's third-party platforms where the banks have actually created safe havens to do your online banking, to do your online payments on various sites. You know, just make sure those portals are correct and you should be okay. But make a phone call to us as well. When you are depositing a lot of money, give our officers a call to make sure, is this the correct banking details? Is this it's the straightforward payments, you know, process. It's not a different payment process to anything else. Just make sure that you've done the things you needed to do to make a payment to anyone, not just an auctioneer.
I think the other thing to be aware of is, generally speaking, if you want to participate in an auction, most auctioneers will want to take a cash deposit from. When I say cash deposit, a transfer of funds depending on what they're selling, could be as low as 2,500, could be 50,000, could be R500,000 on exceptional assets. And that deposit is held by the auctioneer for two reasons. And the primary reason is that if you bid, that they have a degree of comfort that you're going to come back and complete on the transaction. Secondly, is in terms of the law, people have to be FICA'd. So when people register for an auction, you need to know who you're dealing with. They have to supply various documentation in terms of the FICA Act. But in addition to that, they need to deposit an amount of money, and then we can see that they have a bona fide bank account. Because again, we want to eliminate people registering for auctions and not completing on those. And then the money is generally held in trust. If you're a seller of assets, do some investigation, because there are auctioneers that have fly-by-nighters that have started up overnight, held auctions and run away with the money. These are people that, again, have created a fraudulent environment in order to perform. But I mean, you're pretty safe if you're dealing with, if you speak to SIRE, you find out who our members are. Our office can tell you how long that company's been a member of SIRE. And you can do some research. You can ask for some case studies of what other work that they've done. So there's a high degree of confidence can be built by just asking asking questions prior to parting with money. Yep.
James, can you just explain the buyer's premium concept in terms of online auctioneering?
Buyer's premium, meaning the commission. We need to make money somehow. So look, I mean, on our end, I think there's various ways we're charging our fee. There is various ways we're charging our fees. Now, some of it is a buyer's commission, which is over and above your bid price. So basically, your buyer's fee, you need to take that into account when you are a buyer. Make sure that you know what you are bidding on, the terms that you are bidding on, and make sure what it's going to be costing you so that you can still afford that. There's some cases where there's only a seller's premium and not a buyer's premium, and basically what you're bidding is what you pay. So as John said, there's a difference. You need to understand that difference as well, is that your security deposit is that's refundable should you not be the highest bidder. It's a scenario of there's different payments. There's a security deposit, then there's a deposit payment which will go off of your purchase price, and then there'll be a buyer's premium, which is the buyer's fee, which will go over and above your bid price in some cases. As I say, in some cases there is no buyer's premium. So it's a way, and it's the terms that you're bidding on. So it's the fee that is being earned by the auctioneer.
Yeah, look, I mean, the history of buyer's premium, so I can tell you that buyer's premium didn't exist in the 80s. It was invented in America, as a lot of the development within the auction environment is. And what it generally is a way of the bidding process of bidding on an auction is generally done in round numbers. So you would bid at 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. And the idea is that you can bid in those round numbers, but in addition to that, before you start bidding what the buyer's premium amount is. So buyer's premium typically, when it first started, was you would charge the seller a commission, and you would generally collect most of your commission from the seller. And buyer's premium started 2.5%. I can remember seeing buyer's premium 2.5%, 5%, but then bearing in mind that they were making commission on the other side. In Europe and America, buyer's premium on movable assets is 18%. In Holland, it's 19%. If you buy from Sotheby's or Christie's, it can be 20%. So it certainly is impactful on your transaction. So the first question you should be asking is, what is the buyer's premium? I know very few auctioneers that don't charge buyer's premium. And what's effectively happening is that the seller's commissions are falling away, and they're being it's being collected from the buyer as opposed to the seller. In South Africa, buyer's premium ranges between 5, 12, 15%, I think I've seen, and it's generally decided by the type of asset class. So, a lot of movable assets, or maybe low value, high volume, the buyer's premium is higher. And it's got to do with the risk that the auctioneer is taking in relation to hosting that auction. But yeah, it's very important that you understand that. And just while we're talking about that, there is if you buy vehicles in South Africa, you should also inquire if there is a documentation fee. That documentation fee is not don't be put off by it. Or what it is the NATIS document transfer from the seller to the buyer can be a very difficult process. And if the auctioneer has taken that role on in terms of a seller's instruction, he recovers a fee from the buyer in addition to the buyer's premium because of the work associated with doing the transfer of the vehicle. So yeah, generally speaking, look out for a buyer's premium and look out if there's any administration fee on your invoice, and the auctioneers will be able to tell you this prior to you bidding. Yeah.
Okay, but are there any legal and regulatory considerations that participants in online should be aware of?
In terms of?
In terms of the whole
sale. Yeah, the Consumer Protection Act is a relatively new piece of legislation, and included within the Consumer Protection Act is a whole section dedicated to auctions. It's a way of protecting consumers in terms of when they bid on auctions. And it's certainly strengthened the position of a consumer buying on an auction, and it's there to protect consumers. So I think that's had a major role in alleviating some of the fears that consumers might have in bidding on an auction. And then secondly, the Estate Agents Affairs Act, that's fallen away. We've now got the Property Practitioners Act, and again, that's been improved to protect buyers and sellers in terms of selling. So in terms of, I think for the first time in a long time, there is a lot of legislation that talks to the auctioneering industry. And I'm pleased to say that SIRE was consulted prior to the promulgation of both of these acts in terms of have the authors of these acts interpreted the auctioneering industry correctly, and I think they've gone a long way to getting it right. There are some things that we as an association are not overly happy with, but that we are certainly playing a role in alleviating some of those concerns when challenged. So SIRE is seen as the voice of the auctioneering industry, and I'm pleased to say that the ombudsmen in both of those areas consult with us where interpretation within those two acts are brought into question. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.